Hey guys, it's Skybird, and I wanted to talk about what you are seeing on screen right now because this is my build for my working Onua Mistika revamp Quake breakers. That's a lot of words. You can ignore basically all of it. And I wanted to go over these for a moment to showcase what LEGO could have done with, honestly, just a few parts. So this is a working Quake breaker. It can not only function as a normal chainsaw and attach to Onua's feet in much the same way as Onua Nuva's Quake breakers could. Giant chainsaw skates, what's not to love, right? But it also attaches the Nanra blaster from Onua Mistika's, release set. And I've heard a lot of people talk about how LEGO didn't know, or LEGO's designers didn't know what sets these were going to be when they were designing them. And that may have been true at some point in time, but inevitably they had to know in order to, one, get sets to like conventions and out to reviewers and things, but also for logistic reasons at some point well ahead of when these sets were actually released, who they were going to be. And so I look at a set like this, I look at a build like this, especially with the Nanra blaster here, and it's got this large shell piece on it. It's a neat looking piece. It's not a piece that I've ever really used in my own mock because it's kind of a very specific shape, if you will. However, when we look at it, it basically takes up a weapon slot, if you will. It takes up one of the molds for 2008, specifically the mold for a weapon. None of the Mistika really have what I would consider melee weapons on them. So what I was considering is, if I were to take this and take all of the pieces required to make one of these Quake breakers function, there's like 75 pieces here on screen. LEGO clearly was not going to make this, let alone a pair of these for an Onua Mistika, but they didn't have to. In fact, this entire build, minus the blaster itself, could actually be made with just 6 pieces if we were really smart about how we did it. And I know that sounds crazy at first, but bear with me because I'm going to show off why this works. So let's go ahead and assume that LEGO did not release this piece right here. We're going to just remove it from the mold in general. And now we have the blaster itself, and the blaster that can be made. It's its own dedicated blaster. I think it's fine. I think it's a neat piece, and it has a lot of cool parts on it. It works great underwater if you've never tried it before as well. And honestly, although I really like the Midak blaster too, in fact, I think I like it more for incorporating to other builds. If I had to sacrifice one, I think the Midak blaster would be the one I would sacrifice for this one, just to save up, free up some mold slots. But let's ignore that for a moment. If we look at the skate here itself, what does it need to do? Well, it needs a single tread, as you can see here. It needs a housing of some kind, some large structure that can be built to hold the treads in place. But then it also needs gears on the inside, as well as some axles to mount those gears. Pretty simple there, right? So if we think about that, there's a 16-tooth gear on the front side here and a 16-tooth gear on the back side as well. An axle on each side. That's 4 pieces. If we design this housing to be a large piece in much the same way as this shell here, but to cover these treads and then create a separate mold for the tread, so that way we're not throwing together 150 of this piece or whatever the case may be, right? That way we have just a single piece, a rubber piece or a single molded piece of plastic that's able to pivot. I don't know exactly how that works, but you could think of it like a chain piece that LEGO makes, right? They have plastic chains, which are all technically individual pieces, but it's one mold. Does that make sense? Well, anyway, think about if we did something like that here. So you have a single piece for the tread, a single piece for the shell, and then 2 gears, 2 axles. You've reduced the entire build of this chainsaw right here, 62 pieces, to just 6 pieces. Does it have to look like this? No, of course not. I'm just working within Bionicle pieces that actually exist. But if this was a custom build, something like this can work. And then you could change up how the foot mounts to it or whatever the case may be, how the character attaches their arm or whatever you want to adjust on this set. You have the ability to do so. I think in general this is a really fantastic idea because now instead of a single chainsaw being 62 pieces, you have a single chainsaw being 6 pieces. You have the Nanra blaster. Again, let's go ahead and get rid of that being what, 5 pieces? So 11 pieces total, and you give Onua a second chainsaw, 6 more pieces. That's, let's see, 17 pieces in total. 17 pieces out of Onua's build go to his weapons. That sounds like a lot. But here's the thing. If you are familiar with Tahu Mistika from 2008, the turbines in his set, the ones that are connected to his shoulders and underneath his armpits to get rid of the stench, I guess, that requires 18 pieces to build onto that character. It makes Tahu Mistika the largest canister set that Bionicle ever released by parts count alone in the first generation. Anyway, and ignore that the camera's slightly yellow. OBS. Anyway, so it's crazy to think about because LEGO was obviously willing to do something like this. All we have to do is look back at Pohatu Mistika, right? His builds required unique molds for the arm pieces as well. And I think each arm was like, what, 10 pieces or so, give or take? That's 20 pieces of his build. I could be off by 1 or 2, but the point still stands. This is possible. Something like this could have been done, and LEGO didn't do it. One piece, though, man. It just makes me think, because if designers were designing this piece, and then at some point in time were told, hey, by the way, the character you're making right now, that's Onua. Oh, okay, cool. We've got this awesome looking shell piece, and it's going on Onua. Could they not have said, okay, well, let's scrap this idea then and go back and see what made Onua himself? The thing is, too, the way that I designed this chainsaw here also allows for the Onua character to mount either version of the claws from either 2006 or 2008. So if you like the 2008 Mistika 3-fingered claws from like Gorost and Bittle and other sets, it can work with this build here. If you like Nuparu's claws from 2006, those work with this build too. Both of them are accounted for, meaning that Onua could have also gotten his claws too. Is it necessary? No, but goddamn, I would have liked it. Even if nothing else from Onua changed, if it was just this, like chef's kiss, right? You know, I would have been so happy. Here's the thing too. I know that a lot of people knock on Onua's mask from 2008. I'm one of them because I don't really think it's a Pakari. It's not in my eyes, but it does look like a pretty good Krakan. So if we rolled that back for a moment, change Icarax around, you could make him for some reason just be Pterodax again. I honestly don't care. Give it a reason for that to exist. Or say that Icarax grabbed onto the Krakan and then it mutated or whatever the case may be to become that mask. Give Onua his own mask and you're golden. I really think that those are the two things you needed. Yes, he would still be way taller than he should be. Like, I completely agree with that. And he shouldn't be. But it's not a difficult fix from where he's at. And man, 1 mold, 2 molds, I guess, if you count the treads. Anyway, that's it for this video. If you enjoyed this one, make sure to subscribe. Helps the channel out. And as always, be sure to check out the links in the description. And as I mentioned, I also have commissions open. I think I just finished my 5th one. So thank you all for checking that out so far. I've got a couple more to do, but they are still open. So feel free to hit me up either on Instagram or Discord via DMs there. And it's just pay what you want, pay what you can. And yeah, I appreciate the experience. Take care.